The desert at night looked almost gentle. Tucson was a faint glow on the horizon, a smear of light above the black strip of freeway. Then the siren rose and the quiet tore open. Ray Collins braced a boot against the rig floor as the ambulance hit a dip in the asphalt. The box shuddered around her, cabinets rattled, an IV bag swung on its hook, catching the red and blue pulses from the light bar. 68 and dropping, she called toward the front. We need to move Mike. Her voice sounded steady. Her hands did not feel steady. The man on the gurney did not look like anyone who belonged in a county ambulance. Tactical vest, shredded desert shirt, soaked dark boots, laced tight as if he had dressed for a mission. Sand clung to his hair and beard as if the desert had tried to keep him. 10 minutes earlier, she had never seen him. She and Mike were parked off the frontage road, sipping burnt coffee, listening to dispatch juggle a pileup on the interstate. Then a call cracked through a burst of static. Single male, multiple gunshot wounds at mile marker 24. No one explained why a man dressed for war was bleeding under a billboard. Now Ray leaned over him, counting respirations, watching his chest fight the straps. The portable monitor on his finger chirped a weak rhythm. The air in the box held the iron tang of blood under the sharp bite of antiseptic. "Sir, can you hear me?" she asked. His eyelids twitched. A wash of pale color showed unfocused. The pupils slid past her face, then back as if weighing what they saw. "Captain," he whispered. The word was barely sound. It was breath-shaped into something that did not belong in this life. Ray went still. Her gaze dropped to the patch on his ruined vest. The fabric was torn, but the insignia was intact. A black trident over a ring of stars scratched and faded. She had seen that symbol before in a different state, on a uniform in a mirror that smelled like bleach. It did not exist in this town. Officially, it did not exist at all. Her thumb brushed the edge of it. Heat shot up her arm, irrational and fast, as if the cloth were still on fire. "Ray!" Mike's voice came thin from the cab. "You going to give me an update sometime this year?" She pulled her hand back. "Heart rate 110 weak," she said. "Breathing shallow. Get me a trauma room." "St. Mary's is ready," Mike answered. 3 minutes if the lights stay green." The radio hissed with a burst of static that blurred his last words. Ray glanced at the ceiling speaker, then away. She reached for the man's wrist. His skin was slick and too cool. Under her fingers the pulse stumbled mist, then found itself again. His hand moved, fingers locked around her forearm with a strength that did not match his numbers. His eyes opened. They were washed out blue in the thin light, the color of noon sky over sand. They fixed on her with sudden clarity that cut through the drugs and blood loss. "Jordan," he rasped. The name hit hard. Air stopped halfway to her lungs. For a moment, the rig, the siren, the road all dropped away. There was only that name that no one used anymore. Her name. She knew his face now that he was looking at her. Lucas Kane, last seen framed by fire and concrete in a compound that was not supposed to burn, last listed as dead. "They said you burned," he said. His grip tightened. "Said you never made it out, Cap." "Stop talking," Ray said. The words came out flat. "You are losing blood. Save your breath." He gave a laugh that turned into a cough. Dark flecks spotted his lips. "Still giving orders," he muttered. The rig lurched as Mike took an exit. The gurney rolled a fraction and Ray caught it with one hand, the other still trapped in Lucas's grasp. She held his gaze. Looking away felt worse. "I'm not your captainee," she said. She kept her voice level, the one she used on drunk drivers. "My name is Ray Collins. You are in an ambulance headed to St. Mary's Ridge Medical Center." "Bullshit," he whispered. The monitor chimed a soft alarm. His pressure was falling. Numbers slipped toward a line she knew too well. She pried his fingers off her arm one by one. "Incoming critical trauma," she called to the front. "Tell them he is circling the drain." "Copy," Mike said. "No jokes now." Through the back windows, the glow of the city grew a low orange stain against the dark. The pale block of St. Mary's lifted out of the night windows, lit in uneven squares. The siren echoed off of low hills. For a second it changed in her ears, became the rising wail of a different alarm in a corridor filled with heat. She blinked and fixed on the checklist. Airway, breathing, circulation, dressing secure, vitals noted. The ambulance swung into the bay. The stop shoved her weight forward. Ray popped the latch and shoved the rear doors wide. Hot night air rolled in thick with exhaust and faint hospital laundry. 2 orderlies jogged toward them with a second gurney. Fluorescent light spilled from the open emergency doors. "Gunshot trauma," she called. Male 30s, multiple entries, hypotensive tachy altered. They slid Lucas to the hospital gurney in a practiced move. For a second, as his hand passed from hers to the nurses, his fingers brushed her wrist again. Her real name seemed to hang in the air with the smell of blood and asphalt. Jordan Hale. She swallowed and said nothing. No one here needed to hear that name. They pushed the gurney through the automatic doors in a rush of humming glass and cold air. Fluorescent light washed the blood to a flatter color. The sounds changed. Siren echo dropped off and hospital noise took over the layered voices, the squeak of shoes, the clipped codes over the intercom. A nurse in blue scrubs took the head of the gurney, another grabbed the chart from the side rail. "What have we got?" someone called. Ray walked alongside, one hand on the rail, the other holding the IV bag high. "Male 30s, she said. Multiple gunshot wounds, torso and shoulder. Pressure tanking, GCS 14 and falling." They pushed through a curtain into trauma 2. The room swallowed them. Monitors flicked to life cables snaked off their hooks. The air smelled sharper here, antiseptic and plastic, the faint burn scent of cauterized tissue from some earlier patient. A woman in a dark green scrub top stepped in, tying a mask as she moved. Hair twisted up in a careless knot. Lines at the corners of her eyes that came more from worry than age. "Blake," she said. "I am Dr. Blake. Let me in there." Ray shifted back from the head of the bed. The doctor took her spot with practiced ease stethoscope already in hand. "Trauma panel type and cross 2 units. O-neg on hold," Dr. Blake said. "What is his pressure now?" 60 systolic, Ray answered. "Last check a minute ago." Dr. Blake pressed the stethoscope to Lucas's chest, listened, then reached for a pair of scissors and cut the rest of his shirt away. Wounds bloomed under the fabric, some clotted, some still leaking across his ribs. "Where did you find him?" Dr. Blake asked. "Off 26 near the old rest stop," Ray said. "No vehicle, no ID, just him." Dr. Blake's gaze flicked up at that just a quick cut, then went back to the wounds. "Bullet entry right upper quadrant 1 near the scapula. Possible internal bleed. Let's get an ultrasound. Where is my tech?" A young man hurried in with the ultrasound card, eyes a little wide. Dr. Blake moved aside only enough to let him get the probe against the sticky skin. As they worked, Ray took one slow step back. Her hands hovered without a job. The room had enough people now. They did not need another pair of gloves in the way. "Ray," Mike's voice said behind her. She turned. He stood just inside the curtain, hair flattened with sweat, cheeks flushed from the run-in from the bay. "You good?" he asked quietly. "I am fine," she said. Yeah, she said. He scanned her face anyway, looking for cracks. Whatever he saw, he chose not to call out. "Guy came out of nowhere," Mike said. "No vehicle, like you said. It is weird." "Gunshot weird is normal here," Ray replied. "Cartel runs smugglers' domestic fights. It is Arizona." "Sure," Mike said. His gaze slid past her to Lucas on the table. "But this one has the look. You know what I mean." She knew. The way Lucas had lain on the dirt as if dropped, not thrown. The gear, the military boots. The way he had said captain like it was still a rank that mattered. "Write your report," she said, "then restock the rig." He started to say something else, then closed his mouth and left. The curtain swayed behind him, the fabric breathing in and out. Inside, Dr. Blake was calling out findings. Fluid in Morrison's right upper quadrant. Possible liver laceration. He needs CT, but we stabilize here first. Get me a central line. The name made Ray's head tilt. "Morrison," she asked. Dr. Blake looked up. "No ID on him. Registration had to put something in the system. It is a placeholder." The overhead monitor beeped in a high insistent pattern. Numbers dropped by the second. Hands moved faster. Ray stepped farther back until she stood at the edge of the curtain, half in the hallway, half out. Her shoulder brushed the cool wall. She watched Lucas's face between bodies and arms and tubing. He looked smaller on the hospital bed than he had on the gurney, more exposed. Less like the man who had once blown a door with her and gone in first. He opened his eyes again. Just a sliver this time. They found her in the doorway past the blur of staff. His lips moved. She could not hear him over the noise. He tried again. The word came out a rasp that cut through the orders and the monitor tones. "They lied," he said. Dr. Blake bent over him. "Do not talk," she said. "Save your strength." His gaze stayed locked on Ray. "It's happening again," he whispered. The monitor alarm jumped in pitch. Nurses leaned in. Someone called for more fluids. His eyes rolled back, then closed. "Push another bolus," Dr. Blake said. "We are not losing him on my table. Move." Ray let the curtain fall closed. Outside the hallway ran in 2 directions, a long strip of polished floor and pale walls. The nights at St. Mary's always felt like someone had turned the color down a notch. Even the exit signs looked tired. She took 3 slow breaths. In through the nose, out through the mouth. She unclenched her fists. The imprint of Lucas's grip still tingled on her skin. Her phone buzzed in the pocket of her scrub pants. The sound was small, almost polite, but it cut into the moment like a blade. She pulled the phone out without thinking. The screen glowed in the dim light, her own face reflected faintly in the glass, before the notification popped over it. Unknown number, 1 new message. Her thumb hesitated, then tapped. The text was short. "We know you are alive, Hale. Solstice Drive-In, midnight. Come alone or Kane dies slow. She read it twice, each word settled like a weight. The phone was warm in her hand. Her mouth had gone dry without her noticing. No one outside the compound had called her Hale in 3 years. No one at St. Mary's knew what Solstice Drive-In was. The old theater sat half buried in dust outside the city, big screen ripped by wind metal frames rusting slow. Her thumb tightened on the phone. The plastic creaked. "Ray?" Dr. Blake's voice snapped her back. Ray clicked the screen dark with a twitch and shoved the phone into her pocket. Naomi Blake stood in front of her, now mask pulled down around her neck. There was a smear of blood on her sleeve that had not been there before. "Your patient is alive," Dr. Blake said, for the moment. Ray forced her shoulders to loosen. "Good." "He keeps saying your name," Dr. Blake said. "Jordan. That is your name, is it not?" Ray looked at her. The hallway seemed to narrow. The fluorescent lights hummed overhead, a thin electric buzz. "People say all sorts of things when they are in shock," Ray said. "He's confused." "Maybe," Dr. Blake said. She reached into the pocket of her scrub top and pulled out something small. It sat in her palm, metallic and ugly, flecked with dried blood. Ray recognized the general shape before she knew why. She had seen versions of it strapped to vests, glued to undersides of vehicles sewn into equipment. "This was inside the lining of his vest," Dr. Blake said. "I pulled it while they were cutting his clothes." It was a tracker, compact, no casing, simple. Ray kept her face still. "Could be a training device," she said. "Some units use them." Dr. Blake shook her head once. "This is not a toy, she said. "It is active. I had radiology ping it. It is broadcasting." And the system picked up at least 3 others in range of the hospital. The skin between Ray's shoulder blades prickled. "In range," she repeated. "A couple 100 meters," Dr. Blake said. Her voice stayed even, but her eyes were sharper now, "which means you have at least 3 more things or people around us that someone is keeping very close track of." The overhead speaker crackled with a brief burst of static. A voice came on, called for respiratory to another room, then cut out. Dr. Blake closed her hand around the tracker and slipped it back into her pocket. "I did 2 tours in Helmand, yo," she said. "I recognize military tech when I see it. Someone went to a lot of trouble to drag that man to my emergency room." Ray swallowed. "They are not after my hospital," Dr. Blake said, "are they?" It was not quite a question. Ray felt the weight of the phone in her pocket, the heat of Lucas's fingers on her wrist, the memory of flames licking up concrete walls. She looked past Dr. Blake through the small window in the trauma room door. Lucas lay still on the bed lines and tubes, turning him into part of the machinery. "No," she said quietly. "They are after me." Naomi studied her for a long second. The noise of the ER filled the space between them, buzz and clatter, and the rise and fall of distant voices. "Then whoever they are," she said, "they just walked through my front door to get to you." Her tone was calm. Underneath, Ray heard anger thin and cold. Before she could answer, the overhead lights flickered. It was a small thing at first. A twitch. A stutter in the steady white that made the corridor pulse once. Ray glanced up, so did Naomi. The light steadied. A nurse rolled a cart past them, oblivious, talking under her breath about missing lab results. Naomi took a breath. "I need to get back in there," she said, nodding toward the trauma bay. "Your friend is not out of the woods." "Call me if he crashes," Ray said. Naomi gave her a look. "If he crashes," she said, "you will hear it." She turned and slipped back through the swinging door into Trauma 2. Ray stood alone in the hallway. The air felt thicker, as if the building were holding its breath. Her phone pressed against her leg. The message sat in her pocket, quiet and solid. "Solstice Drive-In, midnight. Come alone or Kane dies slow." She dug the phone out and read it again. The words did not change. The timestamp at the top did. 23:02. She checked the wall clock above the nurse's station. 27. 5 minutes. Ray. Mike came jogging toward her, carrying an empty supply bin. Sweat had dried into a salt line along his jaw. "Rig is clear," he said. "I restocked what we used. You want to grab coffee before dispatch sticks us with another run." "Later," she said. He frowned. "You look like you saw a ghost." "Just a long shift." "That guy," Mike said, jerking his chin toward the trauma bay door. "He kept saying your name. I heard him. Jordan. Like you two had a reunion planned." Ray forced a small smile that did not reach her eyes. "People say plenty of things when they are bleeding out," she said. "Sure," Mike said. He pushed the bin against his hip. He also had a vest, like something off a recruiting poster. "You know him from somewhere." Ray felt her pulse tick up. "No," she said, "I do not." For a moment, neither of them spoke. The monitor behind the desk beeped in a steady rhythm. Somewhere down the hall, a patient coughed wet and harsh. "You want me to stick around?" Mike asked. "In case something goes sideways." The question was harmless on the surface. Underneath, it landed wrong. A word here, a tone there. Ray could not pin it, only felt the itch along her spine. "We are off the clock," she said. "Go home, sleep." He shrugged. "Suit yourself," he said. "Call me if you need backup." He turned away, heading toward the stairwell at the far end of the hall. His reflection slid along the glass of the observation window as he passed, momentarily overlapping her own. 2 shapes, 1 shadow. 1. The lights flickered again. This time they did not come back right away. A click, a soft rising hum, then darkness swallowed the corridor for a heartbeat. The only illumination came from the exit signs and the faint glow of machines in rooms where doors were left open. Ray froze. A second later, the emergency system kicked in. Dim, yellowed fixtures along the ceiling buzzed to life. The world came back in, washed out amber. The hospital had gone to generator power. In the ER behind her, someone swore. Another voice tried to smooth it over with a joke. Nurses adjusted as they always did. Work did not stop. Ray listened for the tone of the generator, low and constant. It vibrated through the floor through her shoes. The overhead speaker crackled again. For a moment there was nothing but white noise, like sand dragged across metal. Then a voice pushed through. "Code yellow in imaging," it said. "All non-essential staff clear the area." The words were normal enough, the static was not. Ray turned toward the nurse's station. "Power outage," she asked. The clerk at the desk shrugged, squinting at his monitor as it rebooted. "City grid has been glitchy all week," he said. "Storms in the mountains, we will be fine." There were no storms in the mountains tonight. The sky had been clear when she walked out to the rig. Her phone buzzed again. She lifted it, thumb sliding the screen open. "You are late." Same unknown number, same flat tone in the words. The time was still 23:07. She looked at the previous message, 3:02. Her mouth thinned. Another bubble appeared. "Room 312, he's winking, tin posters. Hello, sweet." Ray stared at the text. Lucas was in trauma too. There was no way whoever was texting her could know yet what room he would be assigned after surgery. He did not have a room number. "Can I help you with something?" a voice asked. She turned. A young man in hospital scrubs stood a few feet away, holding a plastic tote labeled meds. His badge flipped on its retractable clip, unreadable in the bad light. His smile was wrong. Not big enough to be friendly, not small enough to be neutral. Just there. "I am fine," she said. In shape, said. "Place is a mess when the power hiccups," he said. "Hard to find what you are looking for." He moved past her before she could answer, heading toward the medication room. His steps were even a touch too precise. His shoulders did not carry the slump most night shift staff had by this hour. Ray watched him go. The door to the medroom opened. Another person in scrubs stepped out, this one a woman with her hair tucked under a cap. She did not meet Ray's eyes. She walked with the same not quite right cadence and joined the man by the carts. They spoke to each other without looking around. Low voices, quick glances. Her skin tightened. She crossed to the trauma bay and pushed the door with her hip. Naomi looked up from the bedside. Lucas lay still intubated, now chest rising with the ventilator. Tubes and lines made a forest around him. "How is he?" Ray asked. "Holding for the moment," Naomi said. "We have him stabilized enough to send to CT. I do not love doing that on generator, but we do not have a choice." She stripped off a pair of gloves and tossed them in a bin. "Any idea when your friends outside will knock this off?" she asked. "They are not my friends," Ray said. Naomi studied her again. The question she did not ask hung in the air between them. Ray pulled her phone out. "I got this," she said. She held the screen out so Naomi could see the messages. Naomi read them once, then a second time, jaw tightening. "This is a public number?" Naomi asked. "Burner," Ray said. "Bought it cash. I use it only for work. No social media, no family calls." "So whoever wrote this did not just pull your contact from some old group chat," Naomi said. "No." Naomi let out a slow breath. "The Solstice Drive-In," she said. "That is the old place out by the highway, yes." Ray nodded. "I patched up a kid who broke into it last summer," Naomi said. "He fell through the projection booth floor, said the place was empty, rotten wood, broken glass, rodent droppings, no power." "Which makes it quiet," Ray said, "and private." "And a long way from help," Naomi added. The generator hummed deepened for a moment as another load came online. The wall clock ticked. "I got another text," Ray said. "Room 312, he is waiting." Naomi frowned. "He is not in 312, she said. "That room is empty. We have him here, then CT, then ICU." "The message was sent before bed assignments," Ray said. "Before you even finished your initial exam." Naomi looked past her through the small window at the hall. "Someone in this building is feeding them information," she said. "Or they planned this down to room numbers." Ray felt her throat tighten. "I need to see 3, she said. Naomi met her eyes. "You go anywhere, you do not go alone," she said. They wanted a crowd, they would have picked the cafeteria, Ray said. They picked a specific room. They used my real name. They know what gets me moving. Naomi hesitated. Then she reached into her pocket and pulled out the tracker again. Keep this in mind when you go, she said. There are at least 3 more of these talking to someone outside. Whatever you walk into, they will know exactly where you are. Ray closed her fingers around the little device. It was colder than the room, a hard core in her palm. Get him through CT, she said. She nodded toward Lucas. Do what you need to keep him alive. That is the job, Naomi said. Ray stepped back out into the hallway. The emergency lights painted everything the same flat amber. Faces of staff moved through the glow, some familiar, some not. She slipped the tracker into her pocket with the phone. The weight of both pulled the fabric down a constant tug. The signs on the wall pointed the way. Stairs, radiology, 3rd floor. She took the stairs. Elevators felt wrong with the generator running and whoever was watching those trackers. The stairwell was concrete, an echo, and the faint scent of dust. Each footstep bounced off the walls and came back at her doubled. On the landing for the 3rd floor, she paused. The door window showed a slice of the corridor beyond, lit the same amber as below. She pushed the bar and stepped through. The 3rd floor was quieter. Fewer voices. Distant television noise from a room someone had forgotten to mute. The floor gleamed under the emergency lights. 1 door down, 2, 3. Most rooms were dim curtains half drawn. Patients slept or pretended to, machines whispered around them. At the far end of the hall, room 312 waited. Its door was not closed. Light spilled into the corridor from inside, wider than the emergency lamps, a narrow rectangle that cut across the floor. Ray moved toward the light. The hall narrowed in her vision until there was only the open door and the pale slice of brightness across the floor. Her shoes made no sound now. Even the murmur of television seemed to fall away. She stopped just short of the doorway and listened. No voices. The soft, steady beep of a monitor. The faint hiss of oxygen through a line. No footsteps, no shuffle of fabric, no rattle of metal. She edged closer and set her shoulder against the frame. Her fingers brushed the wood. It was smooth and cool, worn by years of hands. She leaned in and looked. Room 312 was not on generator power. The overhead fluorescent burned white and hard too bright for the rest of the floor. It washed out color and carved shadows under the bed and along the cabinets. The bed was occupied. Lucas lay on the mattress sheets pulled up to his waist. No tube in his throat here, no ventilator. Just an IV stand, a monitor, and the slow rise of his chest. The rhythm of the machine matched what she saw. A gentle, regular beep, the line cycling up and down, like it was reading someone who had not been cut open an hour before. For a second, her brain rejected it. He was downstairs. She had just seen him intubated. There was no way he could be here and breathing on his own. Her gaze tracked down his chest. His skin was clean, no dressings, no blood, no bruises, as if none of it had happened. He was also not alone. A figure stood at the far side of the bed, back to the door. Scrub top, dark pants hair pulled into a tail at the nape of the neck. The person adjusted the drip rate on the IV, moved with an easy familiarity that did not belong to a stranger. "Lucas," the figure said softly. The voice was low, almost tender. "You always did pick the worst places to bleed." The hairs on Ray's arms lifted. She stepped into the doorway. "Step away from him," she said. The figure stilled. Slowly, very slowly, the person turned. For a moment, Ray thought there was a mirror at the side of the bed, and she was looking at herself in bad glass. Same height, same build, same angle of jaw, same short dark hair pulled back from the face in the same practical knot she had tied in the staff bathroom at the start of shift. Same small scar at the curve of the left eyebrow, pale against the skin, the mark from a training breach when she was still young enough to think she was bulletproof. The other woman's eyes moved over Ray in a quick sweep. Something like interest moved through them. "Oh," the woman said, "that is better than the photos." Her voice was Ray's voice, dragged across sandpaper and dipped in something amused. Ray did not move. The monitor continued its lazy beep behind them. The IV drip clicked in a steady tick. "Who are you?" Ray said. The woman smiled. It did not touch her eyes. "I would say I am you," she said. "But that sounds dramatic even for me." She took a step closer to the foot of the bed. The light from above caught her face filled in every familiar line. Ray felt her own expression narrow. "Step away from him," she repeated. "You look good," the woman said, "for someone who was supposed to be charcoal and paperwork." Her gaze dipped to the badge clipped to Ray's scrub top. "Ray Collins," she read. "Cute name, soft, like something on a sympathy card." Ray's fingers twitched toward the call button near the door, then stopped. She had no idea who would answer right now. No idea who in the building was safe. "Back away from the bed," Ray said. The woman lifted both hands, palms out in a mock surrender. Relax, box, she said. If I wanted him dead, he would be a code blue already. She lowered one hand, slid it into the pocket of her scrub top, and brought out a syringe. The barrel gleamed under the light. No label. Ray's body moved before the thought formed. She crossed the space in 3 quick strides. The woman was faster. She pivoted, stepping out of reach, syringe held loose but ready. Do not, Ray said. Her voice had dropped. The sound of it surprised her. The woman's grin widened. There she is, she said, the captain voice. They said you had gone soft. 911 calls suburban addresses, saving drunks from themselves. I was beginning to think they were right. She rolled the syringe between her fingers. You touch that line and I break your arm, Ray said. We will see how soft I am. Threats already, the woman said. We just met. Her eyes flicked to Lucas. Hi, by the way, she said to him. He did not respond. His breathing stayed slow and even. There was something wrong about that, but Ray could not parse it yet. Put the needle down, Ray said. The other woman turned her attention back to her. Midnight solstice, she said. You got the text. You know the terms. Ray did not let her glance away. You are not walking out of this room with that in your hand, she said. The woman's smile faded a fraction. Or what? She asked. You call security, the same security who let me walk in here, borrow a pair of scrubs, and set up this little playdate. Her free hand pointed loosely at the IV. You show up where we say, she went on, or we make him an example. Slow, noisy, very educational for everyone on this floor. You touch him, and you will not reach the door, Ray said. For a breath, neither of them moved. The room seemed to tighten around them. The air grew heavy with the smell of antiseptic and something else under it, something metallic and sour. Then Lucas gave a small sound, a breath that caught. Both of their eyes snapped to him. His lashes fluttered. Jordan, he whispered. The woman laughed very softly. That is us, by the way, she said, in case you forgot. Ray took advantage of the shift. She lunged. Her hand closed over the woman's wrist, the one holding the syringe. The other woman twisted, trying to pull away. Their bodies met with a thud, bumping the bed. The IV stand rattled. Ray aimed a strike at the wrist. The syringe flew from the woman's fingers, hit the floor, and skittered under the bed out of sight. The woman's other hand drove into Ray's ribs, sharp and practiced. Pain flashed up Ray's side. She tightened her grip, turning, trying to pin the arm against the mattress. They went down together in a tangle of limbs. The mattress caught part of Ray's weight. The rest hit the floor. The woman's knee pressed into her thigh, looking for leverage. Her fingers jabbed for a nerve at Ray's shoulder. Ray blocked with an elbow roll to use her weight. They came up against the wall, shoulder to plaster. The woman's face was inches from hers now. She was breathing a little harder, but her eyes were bright, very awake. Still got the moves, she said. Her breath smelled like hospital coffee. Ray shoved harder her forearm across the woman's collarbones. Her other hand caught the woman's wrist, pinning it. Who sent you? Ray said. The woman tilted her head slightly. Someone who knows what you walked out of that fire with, she said. Someone who wants it back. I walked out with a stretcher burn and a discharge, Ray said. That is the story you tell yourself, the woman said. The file says different. Her fingers shifted against Ray's grip. She was not trying to break free anymore. She was feeling for something. Pressure bit into a nerve at Ray's elbow. Her hand spasmed open for a split second. It was enough. The woman slipped out from under her forearm and pivoted. In one smooth motion, she reversed their positions. Ray's back hit the wall. A hand pressed into the side of her neck, not enough to cut, breath enough to remind her it could. You are out of practice, the woman said. You have been playing at civilian too long. Ray brought her knee up. The woman blocked it with her shin, a precise movement she had seen in training videos. Why solstice? Ray asked, forcing the words through clenched teeth. Why now? Because the hospital is crowded, the woman said. Messy, full of cameras and witnesses and people who do not know they are in the way. Her gaze flicked toward the door, then back. Solstice is clean, she said. Solstice is ours. Her hand tightened a fraction on Ray's neck. You come chitse goa, she said. Alone shriiste. You bring what they think you have, or the next time I see Kane, I do not waste drugs on him. Her voice dropped lower. And I start with everyone in this building who thinks your name is Ray. Ray felt the words land. They dug in, found old guilt and old fear, and sat there. Footsteps sounded in the hall outside. A cart squeaked. Someone called a nurse's name. The woman eased back half a step, then another, letting Ray's breath open up again. By the way, she said, your partner Mike says hello. Ray stared at her. The real Mike, the woman added. The one they pulled out of a canal half a year ago. The room tilted for a second. The edges of Ray's vision tightened, then snapped wide. You are lying, she said. Am I? The woman said. She backed toward the door, never fully turning her back. Her posture was relaxed again. only her eyes stayed hard. "We will see each other soon," she said, "one way or another." She slipped through the doorway and out of sight. Ray moved after her, reaching the hall in 3 steps. The corridor was empty. No flash of scrubs at the corner, no sound of running steps. The air was still. Her pulse thudded in her ears. "Excuse me," someone said. She turned. 2 security officers were coming from the far end of the floor, one older, one younger. Both wore the same uniform, the same generic patches. Both looked harried and tired, not like the quiet precision she had seen in the 2 bedroom strangers. "We got a report of a disturbance," the older one said. "Nurse said she heard a commotion in 312. Ray glanced back into the room. Lucas lay on the bed. He was as she had first seen him here. Shirt on, no tubes, no wounds. The monitor beside him showed a steady line. The IV bag hung clear and untouched. All trace of the fight was gone. No knocked stand, no syringe on the floor. For a moment, Ray wondered if she had imagined all of it. Then she felt the ache in her ribs where the woman's hand had landed. Her skin still tingled where fingers had dug into her neck. "Everything is fine," Ray said. The younger officer peered past her into the room. "Looks quiet," he said. The older one nodded slowly. "If you see anything, Sippy," he said, "you call down to security, all right? Folks get jumpy when the power flickers. Last thing we need is panic." "Sure," Ray said. They moved on down the hall, checking doors, looking in on other rooms. Ray stepped back into 312, let the door close behind her. The sound was soft, a rubber seal meeting a frame. She approached the bed. Up close, Lucas did not look as healthy as the monitor claimed. There was a faint gray to his skin, a line of tension around his mouth. "Can you hear me?" she asked quietly. His lashes trembled. His eyes did not open. The monitor beeped on steady and calm as if reading a stranger. Ray looked up at the ceiling. There was no camera bubble in the corner. The room had one above the door pointing down the hall, not in. Her gaze moved to the wall clock. The second hand ticked. Her phone buzzed again. Her phone buzzed again. Ray looked down. The screen glowed against the dim light, bright enough to make her squint. "Unknown number. Enjoy the preview." Her thumb tightened on the phone. She swallowed, turned the screen off, and slid it back into her pocket. The room felt smaller. She stepped closer to the bed. Lucas's hand lay on top of the sheet, fingers relaxed, nails rimmed with dirt that the admitting nurse had not yet scrubbed away. She did not touch him. The second hand on the wall clock ticked past another minute. 2017. Her ribs throbbed where the other woman had hit her. A dull, insistent ache whenever she drew a breath too deep. She left the room. The hallway outside looked the same as when she had come in. Amber emergency light, closed doors, a nurse at the far end checking a chart. Ray walked back toward the stairwell. Each step sounded louder than it should. The generator hum followed her down the concrete steps, a low vibration through the banister into her palm. On the second-floor landing, her phone buzzed again. This time it was not the unknown number. Naomi Blake. Ray took the call. "Where are you?" Naomi said. No greeting, just the question. "Third floor," Ray said. "Why?" There was a beat of silence filled by the faint background noise on Naomi's end. "Get back down here," Naomi said. "Now your patient's numbers just went sideways." Ray pushed the door at the bottom with more force than necessary and cut through the ER hall. The lights were still on, generators still that tired amber. In Trauma 2, the curtain was half open. A high alarm tone bled into the corridor. Ray stepped through. Lucas was awake. He was not fully aware. His eyes were open but glassy, darting in small jerks. His chest rose faster under the restraints, each breath shallow. The ventilator still did most of the work. The monitor showed blood pressure dropping and heart rate climbing. Lines of text scrolled along the bottom that Ray did not need to read to know they were bad. Naomi stood at the bedside, one hand on Lucas's shoulder, the other checking the line at his neck. "This is not from the surgery," she said. Something new kicked him. A nurse held up a nearly empty IV bag. "Dr. Blake," she said, "this looks wrong." Ray moved closer. The fluid in the bag had a faint pink tinge, not the clear yellow of saline. Bubbles clung to the tubing where it ran to Lucas's arm. "We hung plain saline from the trauma cart," the nurse said. "This is not that." Naomi took the bag, turned it slowly in her hand, eyes narrowing. "Pull it," she said. "Clamp the line. Check the others." The nurse clamped and disconnected with quick, precise movements. Naomi handed the bag to Ray. "Look at the label," Naomi said. There was no label. The adhesive strip had been peeled away. Only the faint outline of where it had been remained. "I need to know everyone who touched this line in the last 10 minutes, Naomi said. The nurse rattled off names. Hers. Another nurse. The tech who had helped move Lucas from the gurney to the bed. "No one else," Naomi said. A shrug, shaken head. Ray's jaw tightened. "You stepped away," Naomi said to her voice flat. "When did you leave this room?" A few minutes ago, Ray said, right after you stabilized him. And when you came back, Naomi said this bag was already up. Ray nodded. Naomi looked at the monitor again at Lucas's skin, pale and damp. This looks like someone tried to start the bleeding again from the inside, she said quietly. Can you stop it? Ray asked. I can try, Naomi said. She raised her voice. Get me his imaging. I want his scans up now. A tech at the computer station pulled Lucas's records and pushed the images to the monitor on the wall. Grainy grayscale filled the screen. Naomi stepped closer, thumb on the controls scrolling through slices of Lucas's torso. Right there, she said. She tapped the screen. Ray stepped up beside her. On the image, Lucas's liver showed a dark smear where blood had pooled. Naomi flicked to another view, another angle. That laceration is bad, Naomi. Naomi said, but look at the edges. They were too clean. The line of damage curved in a way that did not match the rough track of a bullet. This is not only ballistic trauma, Naomi said. Someone opened him up surgically, recently, then closed him. The bullet wounds are an afterthought. Ray felt her stomach turn. You're saying he was on a table before he was on the highway, she said. I am saying he was on a table while someone asked him questions he did not want to answer, Naomi said. They cut what they needed to cut to keep him talking and alive. Her voice stayed clinical, but her knuckles had gone white where her hand rested on the keyboard. She scrolled down to another slice. Something small and bright glinted near the shadow of the heart. That, she said, tapping again. Ray leaned in. A pale speck stood out in the image, denser than the tissue around it. Shrapnel, Ray said. Maybe, Naomi said. She changed the window level on the view, bringing up more contrast. Or something else. It is too symmetrical for random metal. We will know when we get in there. She stepped back, rubbing at a line between her brows. How long have you worked here, Ray? Naomi asked. Ray blinked at the shift. 6 months, she said, since I moved down from Flagstaff. You came with good references, Naomi said. Clean record, strong skills. You were overqualified for an EMT spot. The monitor behind them continued its steady alarm. A nurse adjusted a drip, called out a new pressure reading. The numbers had stopped falling, but they had not climbed. Naomi's eyes stayed on Ray. When HR ran your prints for the background check, Naomi said they flagged. Ray felt her chest tighten. Old charge, she said. Dropped. I told them that. That is not the flag I mean, Naomi said. She walked to the small desk in the corner, picked up her tablet, and unlocked it with a swipe. A few taps later, she held it out. Look, she said. On the screen was a government record. Name, Ray Collins, date of birth, social, status deceased, auto accident outside El Paso. There was a blurred crash report attached. Below that, another entry. Name Jordan Hale, restricted, status killed in training accident, no remains recovered. It took some doing to get through the walls on this one, Naomi said. Even for me. Ray stared at the lines of text. When you applied here, Naomi said, HR sent me a quiet note. Your prints matched a woman who died 2 years ago and a second file they could not open. They were nervous about liability. They asked if I wanted to pass. You did not, Ray said. People lie about things when they need work, Naomi said. Criminal records, bankruptcy, messy divorces. This did not feel like that. This felt like paperwork written to make someone go away. She set the tablet down on the counter. I did not ask because I did not want to know, she said. I figured if there was a problem, it would come in through the front door, not through my ambulance bay. Lucas made a sound, a rough breath through the tube. The monitor beep changed tone again, then settled. Naomi glanced at the numbers, then back at Ray. You going to tell me who you are now? Naomi asked. Or do I keep calling you Ray and pretend I did not see him call you Jordan twice? For a second, Ray considered lying again. The reflex rose quick and familiar. Then she thought of Rowan in room 312, wearing her face like a borrowed mask. Thought of the text messages that used the name she had buried. Thought of the tracker in Naomi's pocket, and the other 3 somewhere near the hospital. My name was Jordan Hale, she said. The words felt strange on her tongue. Captain Joint Special Operations. 3 years ago, I died in a fire on paper. Naomi did not look surprised, just tired. And now, she said. Now I drive a rig, Ray said. And I answer to Ray Collins. That is as much truth as I can give you. Why did you die? Naomi asked. On paper. Ray looked at Lucas, at the speck on his scan, at the pink tinge still clinging to the inside of the IV bag on the counter. Because the people we worked for decided it was easier to bury a team than listen to what we found, she said. Naomi's jaw tightened. We, she said, you and Kane. And others, Ray said. None of them work in my ER. The overhead speaker crackled. A voice called a code in another wing. The generator hum dipped and rose again. Naomi picked up the tracker from her pocket and turned it over in her fingers. I should call the police, she said, or the base commander, or someone whose job it is to handle whatever this is. You know what happens if you do, Ray said. Naomi placed the tracker on the counter. The little device looked almost harmless there, like a lost button. I know what happened last time I trusted the chain of command to do the right thing, Naomi said. Ray blinked. You were there, she said. Naomi's eyes met hers. I was a field medic, Naomi said. Different name, different country, same fire. For a moment, the room seemed to shift. The walls of Trauma 2 blurred at the edges, replaced by the memory of concrete and heat and smoke. Ray saw a glimpse of a figure in Desert Fatigue's arms hauling a man toward a door that did not exist yet. Heard the echo of a voice shouting over alarms. She caught herself on the edge of the counter and pulled her attention back to the present. We can trade war stories later, Naomi said. Right now I have a patient someone is trying very hard to finish on my table, and you have people outside the building sending you invitations. She nodded at Ray's pocket. You are in this whether you like it or not, Naomi said. So am I, and so is everyone who checked into this hospital tonight. Ray exhaled through her nose. Her hand went to her pocket, feeling the outline of the phone, the lump of the tracker pressing against it. Then we start by making sure he does not die, she said, nodding toward Lucas. Whatever they want from me, they do not get it because he bled out on your floor. Agreed, Naomi said. She pulled a fresh pair of gloves from the box on the wall. ICU is ready for him, she said. Once his pressure holds another 10 points, we move him upstairs and lock that unit down as tight as we can. Ray nodded. Where do you want me? She asked. Naomi studied her for a heartbeat. Close, she said, but not in my way. She glanced up at the monitor again. And Ray, she added. Yes. If someone comes into my hospital wearing your face again, Naomi said, I want to know the second they set foot on my floor. Ray thought of Rowan's cold eyes and familiar scar, thought of how easily she had moved through 312 without anyone noticing. I will not let her walk it twice, Ray said. Naomi turned back to Lucas, checking lines, adjusting drips. The room filled again with the controlled chaos of care. Ray stepped out into the hall. The generator lights hummed overhead. Staff moved along the corridor, some faces she knew, some she did not. In the distance, a pair of orderlies wheeled an empty bed toward the elevators. Ray leaned back against the wall and closed her eyes for a second. Jordan Hale was dead on paper. Ray Collins had a badge clipped to her scrub top. Somewhere in the building, a woman with her face and her DNA walked around with neither name and a handful of bad intentions. Ray opened her eyes. She pushed off the wall and started toward the stairs. For once, there was no call over the radio, no nurse waving her over. The corridor let her go. The stairwell door was heavy. It closed behind her with a solid thud that cut off most of the ER noise. In the concrete shaft, her footsteps echoed up and down, thin and hollow. She did not go up. She went down. The basement level smelled like mop water and machine oil. A strip of fluorescent lights hummed overhead. Somewhere behind the walls, the generator chugged on steady and blind. Ray followed the signs toward security and property. Patients came in full of objects and left lighter. The things they arrived with always ended up down here first. A glass window looked into the property office. Metal shelves behind it held clear plastic bags, each with a label, wallets, belts, shoes, jewelry sealed in tiny envelopes. A middle-aged woman with reading glasses sat at a desk scrolling through a screen. Ray knocked lightly on the glass. The woman looked up, pushed her glasses up her nose, and came to the counter. Help you? She asked. I brought in the gunshot from 26, Ray said. Male 30s. He would have come through without ID. The woman turned to her computer. We get more of those than you would think, she said. Hold on. She typed, lips moving a little as she read. Trauma admission unknown male assigned Morrison as placeholder, she murmured. She got up and disappeared between two shelves. Plastic rustled. A moment later, she came back with a clear bag the size of a grocery sack. Inside were a torn shirt, a shredded vest, boots with dry dirt crusted on the soles, a belt pouch, a knife in a plastic sheath, and a smaller bag tucked into the bottom. That is him, Ray said. Dale said. The woman slid the bag through the half slot at the base of the window. Sign here, she said, tapping a digital pad. You are on his chart as the transporting EMT you can inventory for medical. Ray signed without looking closely at the line. She carried the bag to a bench against the wall. The plastic crackled under her hands. Everything inside smelled like copper and dust, and the faint sour of old sweat when she opened it. She laid the items out one by one on the bench. Boots, vest, shirt, knife, pouch. The vest was heavier than it looked. Plates were still inside, warped and scored. She ran her fingers along the edge of one plate until they hit a scar of melted armor, the kind high heat left behind. Her chest tightened. She set the vest aside and reached for the small inner bag. It had been knotted once and sealed with tape. Property had cut it open with a neat slit along the top. Inside were personal items, a watch with a cracked face that still ticked, a braided cord bracelet she dimly remembered Lucas wearing years ago, a folded piece of paper stained at one corner. She unfolded the paper carefully. It was a photograph. The glossy stock had been bent and straightened more than once, the crease lines pale. The colors were sun-bleached, the background a wash of tan and pale blue. 12 people stood in front of a low concrete building, all in combat gear, all dusty. Most smiling the thin, wary smiles of people who did not trust cameras much. Ray saw herself near the center, younger by a handful of years, shoulders squared, helmet under one arm. She saw Lucas, 2 down from her, grin wider hand resting on the shoulder of another teammate. Her throat went dry. Each face except one had been crossed out in thick red marker. The ink had bled a little into the paper lines, harsh and final, 11 red X marks. Her own face did not have one. She stared at that clear square of skin and eyes, at the small scar by the brow that she now shared with another version of herself. Her gaze shifted to the edges of the photo. Near the left border, almost cut off, a 13th figure stood half in shadow, turned slightly away, a med kit strap across one shoulder. The person's face was partly obscured by the brim of a cap and the angle, but the jawline and cheekbones were visible enough. A few strands of hair had escaped from under the cap, dark and unruly. It tugged at something in her memory. She brought the photo closer to her face, then held it out a little to find the right angle. The harsh basement light shone across the gloss, revealing more detail. Brown eyes, a faint freckle near the right temple, the set of the mouth firm but not unkind. Ray did not recognize the younger version at first. She recognized the scar on the forearm, half visible where the sleeve had ridden up against the medkit strap. It was the same curving rope of tissue she had seen when Naomi pulled up her sleeve to start a line earlier that night. Her stomach dropped as if the floor had tilted. Naomi Blake standing just barely in frame, present the day that photograph was taken. The day before everything blew. Ray let out a breath she had not realized she had been holding. Her fingers folded the photo back along its old creases, then flattened it out again. The red X that should have been over Doc Alvarez's face had never been drawn. She slid the picture into the pocket of her scrub top and gathered up the rest of the items. The bag rustled as she shoved the vest and boots back inside. "Everything you need," the property clerk called through the glass. "For now," Ray answered. She headed back up the stairs. The ER was busier when she returned. A child cried somewhere behind a curtain. A man cursed in Spanish at the triage desk. A police officer spoke in a low voice to a nurse, hand resting on the butt of his holstered weapon. Naomi was at a computer station outside Trauma 2, eyes on a chart. "Blake," Ray said. Naomi glanced up. "How is Morrison?" Ray asked. "Yes," he said. "Stable enough to move," Naomi said. "ICU is prepping a bed. Why?" Ray reached into her pocket and held out the photograph. Naomi frowned, took it and unfolded it. Ray watched her face. The change was small. A tightening around the mouth. A brief flare of something in her eyes that looked like recognition spiked with something darker. "You remember when this was taken?" Ray said. Naomi did not answer right away. Her thumb brushed the crease down the center of the photo. "That is at the forward compound," she said. "The training facility that was not a training facility." Her voice had gone flat. Ray pointed at the figure near the edge. "You were there," she said. Naomi sighed through her nose. "I was," she said, "back when they called me Alvarez." She folded the photo once and handed it back. "You were not on the casualty list," Ray said. "Neither were you," Naomi said. They looked at each other. The hallway noise went soft for a moment. "Where can we talk?" Ray asked. Naomi glanced at the trauma room, then at the ICU doors. "Come with me," she said. She led Ray down a side hall to a small staff lounge. The vending machine hummed in the corner. A coffee pot sat half empty on a warmer, its contents cooked into something tar-colored. Naomi closed the door behind them. Fluorescent light buzzed overhead, a constant insect whine. Naomi pulled at the sleeve of her scrub top until it bunched at the elbow, then pushed it higher to reveal the scar Ray had noticed before. It crawled along her forearm in a rough ring, glossy and pale against the darker skin. "It caught me when the ceiling went," Naomi said. "Concrete and rebar. I was digging out a radio operator. He did not make it." Ray remembered heat and weight and the smell of burning paint. She remembered someone grabbing her harness and yanking her toward a doorway while the world went white. She had not known who had pulled her. She had not looked back. "The official report said you died," Ray said. Naomi gave a small, humorless smile. "The official report said a lot of things, Yeah, she said. Accidental detonation during a live fire exercise. Structural failure. Heroic efforts. Flag-draped coffins. Closed caskets because of the condition of the remains." She reached for the coffee pot, thought better of it, and let her hand fall. "What actually happened?" Ray asked. Naomi leaned forward, resting her forearms on her knees. We were running surveillance on shipments, Ohiret, she said. Crates moving through our own depots. Weapons that did not line up with paper. Serial numbers that did not exist. Someone upstairs signed off on the traffic. Someone else wanted to know who. Her gaze drifted for a second as if she was seeing a different room. They built that compound not as a school, but as a stage, she said. They brought your team in under a training cover. Real ammo, real charges, real targets. The charges were in the wrong place for training, Ray said softly. Exactly, Naomi said. They were in the right place to collapse every corridor you would be using at the same time. She rubbed at the scar on her arm without seeming to notice. Command said it was a freak accident, she said. Then people started dying in stupid ways. Car crashes, robberies gone sideways, house fires in good neighborhoods that did not have wiring issues. Members of the team, Ray said. And anyone attached to the investigation, Naomi said. I got lucky. I was still off the books from my last deployment. They lost track of me in the paperwork shuffle. I let them. She looked at Ray. You did not get lucky, she said. Somebody up the line decided you were more useful dead than alive. So they killed you on a form and waited for the rest to follow. Ray felt an old buried anger stir in her chest. It was not hot. It was cold and very clear. Doc Alvarez gave me something before the blast, she said. In the armory, he said if it lived, the truth lived. Naomi nodded slowly. A drive, so she said. Black, no markings. Yes, Ray said. I saw it, Naomi said. He had duplicates, but they never left the compound. Your copy was the one with the whole route. Names, accounts, departure points, receivers. Enough to burn careers and maybe a branch or two. Ray stared at the table. I do not remember what I did with it, she said. You lost time, Naomi said. You inhale enough dust and smoke and concussive force the brain does funny things, gaps, fractures. Ray remembered waking up in a field hospital tent days later with a headache that made her vision swim and a chaplain reading names outside the curtain. When I finally got a signal and tried to pull the report, Naomi said the file was sealed. You were listed as killed in action. The others were scattered in the wind. Then they started dropping. She looked up at Ray. Kane was smart, she said. He disappeared instead of waiting for a convenient accident, changed his trails, went dark. He lasted 3 years, Ray said. And then someone found him, Naomi said. Opened him up, went looking for where you went, what you had. When they finished using him, they put him on the side of a highway where they knew a certain ambulance would be closer than anyone else. The vending machine coughed once like it was swallowing a coin it did not want. That is not chance, Naomi said. That is choreography. Yeah, I think. Ray leaned back the plastic of the chair, creaking under her. Her hand drifted to the pocket with the photo. She could feel the folded edges through the fabric. You could have left, she said. Changed your name, gone somewhere else. I tried, Naomi said. Turns out I still know how to intubate people better than I know how to sell insurance. And a hospital is as good a place as any to see what comes through the door when things like this happen. She lifted her eyes. And now you are here, she said. With a dead file, a live target on my table, and a twin walking my halls. The word twin hung between them. Ray saw Rowan's face again. Her own jawline. Her own eyes without the things behind them that made them hers. She said they found someone willing to become me for the right price, Ray said. Or the right pressure, Naomi said. Ray pressed her palms against her thighs. In the photo, she said, someone crossed out all of us but me. Naomi nodded once. Then whoever is holding the marker is not finished, she said. For a moment, neither of them spoke. The hum of the vending machine, the buzz of the lights, the faint thud of footsteps in the hall outside filled the quiet. Ray sat back the chair, cutting a line across her shoulders. They will not stop, Naomi said. Not until that last face on the photo has a red X. Ray thought of Lucas on the table, that tiny bright fleck on his scan. Then we give them less to cross out, she said. Naomi pushed herself to her feet. First things first, she said. Your sergeant needs a bed that is not a trauma bay. They walked back together. By the time they reached Trauma 2, an ICU nurse was already inside checking drips and adjusting the ventilator settings. A transport tech stood by with a portable monitor and a new IV pole. Pressure's coming up, the nurse said to Naomi. Still soft, but holding. Good, Naomi said. Let us keep it that way. Ray moved to the far side of the bed, out of the way, yet close enough to see Lucas's face. Sedation had smoothed his features, but tension still sat in the muscles around his eyes. On my count, Naomi said. They transferred him to the ICU bed with careful, practiced movements. Lines moved. Monitors beeped protest and then settled again. As they pushed him into the hall, the generator lights flickered once more. The world went a shade darker, then returned. The hum underfoot stayed steady. They rolled Lucas into the elevator. Naomi hit the button for the ICU floor. The doors closed, cutting them off from the noise below. In the confined space, the ventilator hissed a mechanical sigh. The portable monitor beeped a slower rhythm than before. Naomi checked the drip rate eyes moving between numbers and patient. "You can talk to him," she said softly. "He might hear." Ray looked at Lucas. His lashes lay dark against his skin. There was a smear of dried blood near his hairline the nurses had missed. "Lucas," she said. The name felt more natural than Morrison. "It is Jordan." Her voice sounded strange in the elevator, too loud and too soft at the same time. His fingers twitched against the sheet. The elevator shuddered to a stop. The door slid open to a quieter world. ICU had fewer voices, more machines. The air felt cooler. They rolled him past a nurse's station where two nurses looked up, checked the chart, and pointed to a room. 13, so one of them said. "Monitor is ready, vent connections are set." Inside the room, the lights were dim, the window blinds half closed against the night. The bed waited with its own array of screens. They transferred him again, plugging lines into new ports, switching the ventilator over. The room filled with a new pattern of beeps and hisses. Naomi adjusted the sedation. "I want to see where he really is neurologically," she said. "Just for a moment." "Is that safe?" the ICU nurse asked. "Safer than not knowing," Naomi said. She dialed the infusion back a fraction. For a minute, nothing changed. Then Lucas's breathing pattern shifted. The ventilator still drove it, but his chest began to fight the rhythm a little more on its own. His eyelids fluttered. "Lucas," Ray said. His eyes opened. They were not fully focused, but clearer than they had been in the trauma bay. He looked around the room, slow tracking shadows and light until his gaze found her. There it was again. Recognition relief, something like apology, all tangled. "Cap," he whispered around the tube. The word was warped, but the intent was clear. "Easy," Naomi said. "You have a tube in your throat. Do not try to talk." He did not seem to hear her. "Jordan," he said again, the sound rough. He lifted a hand, the restraint catching it halfway. Ray moved closer and wrapped her fingers around his, grounding him. "I am here," she said. "You are in a hospital in Arizona. You are alive." For now, she did not add. He tried to lift his head. Pain crossed his face in a quick, sharp line. Naomi put a hand on his shoulder. "Stay still," she said. "You have fresh stitches and half your blood volume on the outside of your veins. Do not make me sew you up again." He blinked slowly as if pulling her words into focus. "They grabbed me," he said. Each syllable cost him effort. "Outside Nogales, van no plates, 3 men." He closed his eyes briefly, then forced them open again. "Basement," he said. "Concrete, no windows." The room seemed to shrink around his voice. Ray felt her grip on his hand tighten. "They kept asking about you," he went on. "Where you went after the blast, who you talked to, what you took." His fingers pressed into her palm with what little strength he had. "I told them you were dead," he did a little bosom. "No, like they told us." His throat worked. Naomi checked the ventilator settings, ready to intervene if his oxygen dipped. "They did not like that answer," he said. Images flashed behind his eyes. They were not hers, but for a second Ray saw them anyway. Cold metal table against bare skin. The burn of a cut made with no anesthesia. The smell of bleach and blood. "They showed me files," he said. "Your file, pictures, reports." He swallowed hard, the motion jerking the tube. "Then they showed me her," he said. Ray's muscles went rigid. "Who?" she asked. Her voice came out lower than she intended. Lucas's eyes found hers again. There was a flicker of alarm there now, as if he wished he had not said as much already. "The other you," he said. "Looks like you, sounds like you, different name on the paper, same face in the photo." Naomi stilled. "They called her Rowan Hale," Lucas said. "Said you two came from the same place originally. One went home with your parents, one went somewhere else." The words sank slowly. Twin. Not a metaphor, not a complaint that someone acted too much like her. A person real and documented. "Adopted out," Lucas said. "Private, off the books, then pulled back in when they needed a ghost." Ray's grip on his hand loosened, then tightened again. "They trained her to," he said. "Language, gait habits, gave her your scars, the ones they could fake." Ray thought of the small cut above the brow, the matching arc she had seen on Rowan's face. The scar that came from a breach gone wrong in Coronado. A scar no one outside that room had any reason to copy. "They said if I talked I could see you, Lucas said. "In person, see how good a job they did." His mouth twisted. "I lasted 6 days," he said. "Then I broke. Gave them enough to find the towns you have drifted through, the jobs you took, the names you borrowed." Naomi looked at the monitor. His pressure edged down again, his heart rate creeping up. "We need to save the rest for later," she said. "He is not strong enough for a full debrief." Lucas shook his head weakly. "They were proud of her, Chai," he said. like she was a weapon they built. Kept saying you were sloppy, always leaving people alive who should not have been. She would not make that mistake. Ray could almost hear Rowan's amused voice in room 312 talking about charcoal and paperwork. She said something else, Lucas whispered. His eyes were starting to glaze again, the effort catching up. What? Ray asked. And? He licked dry lips. They said you walked out with something, Ma, he said. Drive. Black no markings. Ledger, they called it. Told me they wanted it back more than they wanted you. His hand went slack in hers for a second, then tightened again as a burst of pain hit him. Naomi nodded to the nurse for a small bump in sedation. The nurse adjusted the syringe pump. Lucas, Naomi said, do you remember anything else about what they did to you physically? Any devices, anything they implanted? He frowned, slightly confused by the shift. Cut me open for, he said. Chest belly, went in and out, felt like fire inside, felt hot here. He tried to lift his hand toward his sternum. The restraint held him. Ray guided his fingers to rest lightly over his chest instead. The skin beneath felt warmer than the rest. Here, he said, like something is burning but not yet. Naomi stepped to the foot of the bed and glanced up at the monitor on the wall that displayed his scanned images. That speck near his heart, she said. It is not in a place that makes sense for random metal. Ray remembered the bright dot on the grayscale. You think they put something in him, Ray said. Naomi's face stayed set. I think we have seen this pattern before, she said. In Kandahar, they used radio triggers on vests. In Mosul, they used pressure plates. Technology moves. People do not change that much. The nurse at the bed looked between them. You are saying he is wired, the nurse said quietly. I am saying they needed leverage he could not run from, Naomi said. Pain is one thing. The threat of turning you into a bomb in someone else's building is another. Lucas's eyes clouded. The sedation nudged him down. His lids grew heavy. Stay with us, Ray said. He gave a faint shake of his head. If they lit it, he whispered, you would know. Naomi moved closer fingers on his wrist, counting under her breath. The pulse fluttered irregularly, then steadied. We need a surgical plan, Naomi said. We need an ordnance plan, too. She turned to Ray. This got uglier, she said. Ray nodded once. What does the ledger have to do with it? She asked. It is not just about cleaning up a loose end anymore, Naomi said. If that drive still exists, it is proof. Roots, numbers, faces. They cannot risk it coming up while they are still cashing in. Ray looked down at Lucas. Tubes hissed and clicked around him. His fingers still rested over his chest, as if guarding the thing inside he had not asked for. I did not even remember the drive until you said it out loud, she said. I do not know where it is. That might be the only reason you are still breathing, Naomi said. They are not sure either. The ICU nurse cleared her throat. We should let him rest, she said. If his pressure dips much lower, we will be talking pressors. Naomi nodded. Turn the sedation back up, she said. Give his brain and his body a break. The nurse adjusted the pump. Lucas's grip on Ray's hand loosened for good this time. His eyes slid closed. The lines on the monitor softened their peaks. Naomi stepped back, watching the numbers. We buy time, she said. That is all we get right now. A few hours if we are lucky. Ray felt a familiar itch between her shoulders, the sense of being watched without seeing the eyes. Her phone sat like a stone in her pocket. Someone out there knew her real name, her past the drive, the fact that Lucas lay in this building and did not yet glow from the inside. Someone believed she still had something worth killing whole rooms of people for. Ray looked from Lucas to Naomi. If they come for him, she said, they go through us. Naomi nodded once. That is the job, she said. The generator hummed on. The monitor beeped its measured rhythm. Somewhere beyond the ICU walls, the night over Tucson stayed very clear. The ICU felt almost peaceful. Machines hummed and beeped in measured patterns. Nurses moved in soft shoes, speaking in low voices. The glass walls of each room made every space visible, but the lighting was dim enough to let patients pretend at night. Ray stood just outside Lucas's door, watching him through the glass. He lay still under the sheets, his hand no longer lifted toward his chest. The sedatives had smoothed the lines from his face. The ventilator whispered beside him, air in and out, steady as tide. She pressed her fingertips to the cool glass. The scar on her wrist from a long-ago rope burn brushed against the surface. Behind her at the nurse's station, Naomi spoke quietly with the charge nurse going over staffing for the night. Even in profile, she looked coiled. Ready. The intercom crackled. Ray turned. The sound was brief, a hiccup of static. No voice followed. The nurses glanced up, then went back to their charts. The generator hum stayed constant. Ray shifted her weight. The muscles along her ribs complained. Her hand went to her pocket out of habit. The phone sat there, the tracker beside it. 2 small, hard truths. She thought about the solstice message, about the open door in the 312, about Rowan's hand on her throat. The hospital felt full of echoes now, even when it was quiet. The intercom crackled again. This time, the noise dragged on a long scrape of white sound that set her teeth on edge. It cut off mid-spike. The charge nurse frowned up at the ceiling speaker. "Communications is drunk tonight," she muttered. Naomi's phone vibrated on the desk. She checked it, then looked at Ray. "Radiology says power is stable on their end," Naomi said. "They want to keep scanning on schedule." Ray nodded without really hearing. Her gaze moved back to Lucas. His monitor line climbed and fell in even peaks. Heart rate in the 80s, pressure holding, oxygen saturation good. The intercom came alive a third time. The static was shorter, a breath. Then a voice slid in under it. "Code Green Intensive Care is," it said. "All doors secure, all staff remain in place until further notice." The tone was wrong. Hospital codes had a rhythm. This one sounded like someone reading off a menu they did not speak the language of. The charge nurse picked up the ward phone and dialed quickly. "Security, this is ICU," she said. "Did you just call a code green on us?" A pause. "Security says they did not push anything," she told Naomi. "They are checking the board." The overhead lights flickered again. For a heartbeat, the ICU went dark. The only light came from the monitors green and blue in the sudden shadow. Then the emergency fixtures came up redder than before, turning skin and walls the color of dried blood. Every monitor in view flashed a brief error message, then returned to normal. Ray felt the fine hairs on her arms rise. Naomi swept the ICU with her eyes. Every nurse had stopped what they were doing for a second. Even the patients who were conscious seemed to feel the shift. A man in one room gripped his bed rails tighter, eyes wide. The intercom popped. "Hello, Jordan." The voice came through the speakers in every room at once. Calm, almost amused. The accent was hers. The cadence was hers. The tiny tilt upward at the end of sentences was hers. The words were not. Nurses froze, heads tilted up toward the ceiling. Ray looked through the glass at Lucas. His eyelids fluttered. The monitor ticks at his bedside sped up by a fraction as if his heart recognized the voice too. Naomi's gaze snapped to Ray. "That is her," Ray said. No one needed to ask who. The voice continued, threaded through a thin veil of static. "You are taking very good care of my sergeant," Rowan said. "I appreciate that." Ray stepped closer to the glass. "You do not touch that microphone," Naomi said sharply to the nurse who had reached for a panel. She crooked a finger at Ray instead. "If she's talking, listen." "You made him a delivery system," Ray said aloud, knowing Rowan could hear if the intercom worked both ways. "You cut him open and turned him into a threat." Static hissed, then softened. "You always did like to get straight to the point," Rowan said. "Yes, he is wired. Surgeons did the neat work. Our friends back east did the chemistry." Nurses exchanged alarmed looks. One of them reached for her phone as if to call downstairs, then stopped at Naomi's raised hand. Rowan's voice took on a different texture, almost conversational. "There is a device sitting very close to his heart," she said. "Think of it as a match. The line in his arm is the fuel. We designed it to be elegant. A small spark, a fast burn, well, a lot of collateral." Ray's hand flattened on the glass. "You are threatening a critical care unit full of civilians," she said. "I am reminding you we are serious," Rowan said. "You have a habit of treating threats like suggestions. I used to be like that. Then I learned." Her laugh came through the speaker in a brief crackle. "In a few seconds," she went on, "that match is going to light." One of the monitors 2 rooms down started beeping faster, picking up the fear in the room from an anxious patient. A nurse hurried in to adjust settings and murmur calming words. Ray's chest constricted. "What do you want?" she said. "We already told you," Rowan said. "Solstice drive-in, midnight, you, no one else, and the drive you walked out of the fire with." "I do not have it," Ray said. "That is a shame," Rowan said. "People will be very upset when they die for nothing." The words hung in the air. Naomi stepped closer to the glass, her jaw set. "How much time do we have?" she asked, pitching her voice low for Ray's ears. "We do not know how they are triggering it," Ray said. "Wrong question," Naomi said. "How much time did she just give us?" Ray replayed Rowan's words in her head. "In a few seconds," Ray said. Naomi nodded once. "You hear that hum under your feet?" Naomi said. "That is the generator. If she is remote, odds are she's listening to monitors, to rhythms." "His heart rate," Ray said. "Exactly," Naomi said. "They can piggyback on the signal, set the device to react to a spike a pattern, or to a command frequency." The intercom crackled again. "I am feeling generous," Rowan said. "You get a demonstration first." Lucas jerked on the bed. His back arched slightly. The monitor beside him screamed into a higher alarm. The line spiked. His heart rate shot up. The nurse in his room jumped. "What is happening?" she called. Lucas's skin flushed a mottled red, climbing his neck. Turn that off, Naomi said. She pointed at the heart monitor. Kill the broadcast, now. The charge nurse stared. If you cut the monitor, she said, we lose telemetry. If you do not, we lose the whole floor, Naomi snapped. Do it. The nurse slammed a finger on the standby for Lucas's display. The waveform disappeared. The beeping stopped. The leads on his chest still read, but nothing transmitted beyond the room walls. For a heartbeat, nothing changed. Then Lucas's body convulsed. He let out a sound half around the tube, half in his chest, a strangled groan that made Ray's skin crawl. Heat bloomed under his sternum. The monitors they could still see registered a sharp kink in his pressure, then a wild drop. His temperature reading jumped a degree in seconds. It lit anyway, Naomi said. They must have an internal trigger. Ray was already at the door. She pushed into the room before anyone could move to stop her. The smell hit her first. Not the usual hospital mix. Something sweet and wrong, like meat left too long near a grill. Get me a crash cart, Naomi said from the doorway, and someone pull the fire alarm. The nurse fumbled for the call button on the wall. A siren started somewhere distant, a rising keen. Overhead the sprinklers stayed dry. Old building, Naomi said. They are manual. Ray grabbed the crash cart herself and slammed it against the red box near the door. The plastic cover cracked. She yanked the lever down. For a second, nothing. Then the pipes overhead clanged. Water exploded from the sprinkler heads in heavy streams. Cold, harsh spray drenched the bed, the floor, the people in the room. The smell shifted as steam tried to rise and the water beat it down. Electronics, the nurse cried, reaching to shield the ventilator. It can take it, Naomi said. He cannot. Ray moved to the side of the bed. Where? She asked. Naomi pointed at Lucas's chest above where the bright speck had sat in the scan. Here, she said. That is as close as we can guess without an X-ray in real time. Lucas's skin above his sternum had reddened. A faint flush spread along the veins like something hot was pushing its way out. The alarms from surrounding rooms joined the noise as other monitors reacted to falling connections and soaked lids. Nurses shouted. Someone cursed as they slipped on the sudden flood on the floor. The overhead speaker crackled. Bold, Rowan's voice said. Water buys you a little time. It does not put the match out. Ray shut the sound out. Her fingers dug into the wet tape over Lucas's chest. She ripped it away, baring the skin. Scalpel, Naomi said. We are in ICU, the nurse said. We do not have a tray. Ray did not wait. She grabbed the small emergency pack at the head of the bed, tore it open, and pulled out the only thing close. A thick gauge IV needle. Not ideal. Sharp enough. You sure? Naomi said. No, Ray said. Hold him. Naomi braced Lucas's shoulders. The nurse held his arm down. Water ran over all of them, soaking hair and clothes, turning the sheet heavy. Ray drove the needle into the flesh just above the sternum. Lucas convulsed, a strangled sound tearing from him. Blood welled around the puncture, mixing with water. She dragged the needle tip along, widening the hole, then dropped it and dug in with her fingers. The heat under his skin was real. Her fingertips met something that burned in a way that was not entirely temperature, a chemical zing, harsh and bright. She pushed deeper. Lucas thrashed weakly against Naomi's grip. The ventilator alarm shrieked, protesting the pressure changes. Ray's thumb and forefinger closed around something hard. It was small and smooth, almost like a marble. It vibrated against her skin, a faint, angry buzz. She pulled. For a second it resisted, held in place by tissue that did not want to let go. Then it tore free. She yanked her hand out of the wound. The object sat between her fingers. A small metal sphere no bigger than a pea, glowing faintly at one seam. Tiny vents along its surface spat a thin stream of white vapor that hissed when it hit the water, dripping from her hand. Tray, Naomi said. Ray did not bother. She threw it against the far corner of the room. It hit the wall and dropped behind the crash cart. There was a sharp pop and a rush of light. The crash cart rocked. The edge of the metal warped, blackening. The wall sprouted a charred circle. Sprinkler water poured over it, turning smoke into steam. The smell of burned metal rolled through the room, then faded. Alarms screamed. The ICU lights flashed. Lucas sagged back onto the soaked pillow, eyes rolled back, chest, heaving under Naomi's hands. Pressure, Naomi called. The nurse read numbers off the monitor. They were bad, but not catastrophic. The steep plunge had leveled. Naomi glanced at Ray. Get your fingers back in there, she said. We still have a hole. Ray pressed gauze into the puncture fingers, already numb from cold and heat and adrenaline. The intercom hissed overhead, then went quiet. No voice followed. Outside the room, staff scrambled to respond to the false fire. Some ran for extinguishers. Others began checking doors, reassuring patients. In the doorway, a figure stood for a moment. Dark scrubs, hair pulled back, a face almost but not quite Ray's. Rowan watched through the stream of water, head tilted, a small frown pulling between her brows. For the first time, she looked surprised. Ray met her eyes. Rowan lifted one hand in a small mocking salute, then stepped back out of sight. Naomi did not turn. Her focus stayed on Lucas and the gauges. Vent settings adjusted, Che, the nurse said. Oxygen holding at 94. Keep it there, Naomi said. Ray exhaled a shudder in it she could not fully suppress. Her hands were slick with blood and water. The skin under her fingers was still warmer than it should be, but the throbbing heat had eased. Above them, the sprinklers continued to pour. Water ran in sheets off the bed and onto the floor, turning the ICU into something between a ward and a shallow pond. Naomi straightened a fraction, eyes on the monitors. He is not dead, Shia. It was not reassurance, it was a fact. Ray nodded. Her heart was still pounding. There was a ringing in her ears that did not come from any of the alarms. Somewhere below the layer of noise, deep in the bones of the building, the generator kept humming. The sprinklers finally shut off. They did not sputter to a stop. They cut clean as if someone had flipped a switch. The sudden silence felt almost violent after the pounding water. What remained was chaos. Puddles spread across the ICU floor, turning it into a shallow lake. Towels appeared from nowhere, slapped down to dam the worst of the flow. Nurses moved with wet hair and damp scrubs all business despite the drip from their sleeves. Lucas lay in the center of it all, the eye of the storm. Fresh dressings covered the new wound in his chest. His ventilator had been wiped down with the same care as a newborn. The monitor above his bed showed a heart rate moving back toward normal peaks. His pressure crept upward in small, stubborn increments. Ray kept her hands on the gauze for a long time after there was no more active bleeding. Her fingers had gone white at the tips. Her shoulders ached. Enough, Naomi said gently. You are holding the whole unit together with brute force at this point. Ray eased back. The nurse stepped in, taping new sterile pads over the puncture. The skin around the site was angry and red, but it no longer burned through the gloves. Outside the glass, a cluster of people had formed. Security, a man in a dark windbreaker with police on the chest, a hospital administrator in a suit that did not like the humidity. The administrator caught Naomi's eye and gestured. Naomi nodded once. Watch him, she told the ICU nurse. If his numbers twitch, I want to know before the monitor does. She pushed open the door and stepped out. Ray followed. The hallway smelled like wet dust and burned metal. The floor here was slick to water having run under the doors in thin sheets. Someone had set out yellow caution cones that did nothing to fix the problem. Dr. Blake, the administrator said. His voice already had the weary patience of a man who would rather be anywhere else. What exactly just happened in my ICU? Naomi looked at him. Her hair was stuck to her forehead in damp strands. Water had darkened the shoulders of her scrubs. She did not seem to notice. A triggered device in a critical patient, she said. We removed it. It exploded in a controlled way against the far wall. The sprinklers did their job. He is alive. The man in the police jacket glanced through the glass at Lucas. A bomb, he said. You are telling me someone brought a bomb into this hospital. I'm telling you someone turned my patient into an ignition source, Naomi said. The bomb part did not get as far as they wanted. Security shifted. One of the guards, a woman with her hair pulled into a tight bun, had her hand on her radio. Did anyone leave this area in the last 10 minutes? Ray asked. Anyone you did not recognize? The bun-haired guard thought. Pretty much everyone left, she said. When the sprinklers went off, half the floor scattered to get towels and covers. We tried to clear the halls, but people were yelling about smoke. It was a mess. Ray glanced up the hall. There was no visible smoke now. Only the faint hazy stain where steam had lifted and then broken apart. The man in the police jacket followed her gaze. We will need to review the security footage, he said. See who had access. Naomi raised a hand. You can try, she said, but you might not like what you find. The administrator frowned. What is that supposed to mean? He asked. Naomi slipped the small metal tracker out of her pocket and held it up between thumb and forefinger. This came out of his vest, she said. It is active. Radiology picked up at least 3 more signals in range of the hospital. Someone is mapping us in real time. The guard with the bun swore under her breath. Whoever did this, Naomi went on, has already reached into our systems once. The code over the intercom did not come from security. The power flickers did not come from the grid. I would bet you a month of my salary that the camera feeds for the last half hour are static. The police officer's jaw clenched. I will check anyway, he said. He turned on his heel and headed for the nearest staff computer, a security guard trailing him. Ray watched him go. Naomi closed her hand around the tracker again and lowered it. I am locking this unit down, she said to the administrator. No unnecessary visitors, no transfers, no new admissions unless they are on fire. You cannot close an entire ICU on your own authority, the administrator said. Watch me, Naomi said. Her tone was mild. Her eyes were not. You want to call the board, call them. By the time they call back, either my patient will still be breathing or he will not. I would prefer the first option. The man pressed his lips together, then let them part in a sigh. Do what you have to, he said. I will need reports, incident documentation, a statement for the press if this gets out. It will get out, Naomi said. Try not to use the word bomb in your statement. He left shoes squeaking on the wet floor. Ray moved closer to Naomi. She was here, Ray said quietly. Rowan, at the door. Naomi nodded once, like that confirmed something she had already assumed. She knows we can improvise, Naomi said. That changes the shape of the game. She also knows I will not walk away, Ray said. That part they knew before they ever put a scalpel to Kane, Naomi said. The police officer returned face tighter than before. Security system shows a fault in the ICU feed starting 14 minutes ago, he said. All we have is snow. Before that, everything looks normal. Any faults anywhere else? Naomi asked. Third floor for a bit, he said. One of the medroom cameras, the hallway outside 312. Then it came back like nothing happened. Ray felt the itch at the base of her skull again. They knew exactly what to cut and when, she said. Naomi turned to her. Talk to me, she said. What does your gut say? Ray looked through the glass at Lucas, then past him at the rows of beds, the people lying under thin blankets, some conscious and watching the hallway, some blissfully out. They want me at Solstice, she said. They want me alone. They wanted him as leverage. When that did not work the way they planned, they showed me how far they are willing to go. Naomi tapped the tracker against her palm. And they have more of these, she said, which means we are still sitting in a mapped building. Ray nodded. We need to know how many, she said, and where. Radiology saw 4 total signatures, Naomi said. This one and 3 more within a couple of 100 meters of the ER when they first pinged. The signals moved once the power hiccup started. Devices, the police officer said, or tagged people, or both, Naomi said. Ray checked the time on the wall clock outside Lucas's room. 20:47. Solstice, midnight. The numbers lined themselves up in her head, neat as targets on a range. We should see where they want you to go from the inside, Naomi said. Ray glanced at her. Naomi jerked her chin toward the far end of the corridor where the ICU doors led back to the main stairs, and beyond that, the emergency exits. If they are bringing the hospital into this, Naomi said, they will make sure you see the terms. They left the ICU together. The air in the main hall felt heavier. Word had already spread. Staff kept their voices lower. Patients watched the ceiling when the intercom popped, braced for more wrong words. They passed the nurses' station, the waiting area with its sagging chairs, the intake desk. Beyond that, a set of double doors led to the stairwell. Ray pushed them open. The stairwell here was different from the service one she had used earlier. Wider, painted a tired tan. The smell of damp concrete rose to meet them stronger now that the sprinklers had dumped half their content into the floors above. Emergency lights lined the walls, small rectangles of orange. They started down. On the first landing, the door to the ground floor was marked with a glowing exit sign. Naomi tried the handle. It turned, but the door did not move. She frowned and put her shoulder into it. Wood thudded against something on the other side. It should not be jammed, she said. Ray stepped beside her and tried as well. The door gave half an inch, then stopped as if it pressed against a solid object. They traded a look. Take the next one, Naomi said. They descended another flight. The door at that landing was marked for the ambulance bay. Its small wired glass window showed only darkness behind it, no hint of motion. Ray peered through. At first she saw nothing but the faint sheen of the floor, a reflection of the emergency light behind her. Then her eyes adjusted. Something stood right up against the door. Plywood. Sheets of it. Someone had built a wall just inside the exit, fast and dirty. Back up, Naomi said. They climbed one step to get a better angle. Ray pressed her face as close to the glass as she could without smudging it. The plywood had been nailed together in a rough frame. Across its surface, in fresh dripping paint, someone had written in large block letters, Solstice Drive-In, midnight, or everyone inside burns. Below the words fixed to the wood with a bracket, a digital timer blinked red. 0:43:19. It ticked down with slow, steady clicks. Naomi let out a breath that sounded half like a laugh, half like a curse. They like drama, she said. Ray watched the numbers change. 00:43:18, 0:43:17. The paint on the wood was still wet enough to shine. The smell of it pushed through the cracks around the door, mingling with the scent of damp concrete and hospital air. It smelled like a promise. Ray stared at the timer. The red digits glowed in the little window, casting a faint stain on the plywood. 0:43:09, 0:43:08. Naomi shifted beside her, breath damp on the glass. They took their time, Naomi said. Paint had to dry enough not to drip all over the floor. Ray could almost see it. Someone dragging in sheets of wood, hammering them up against the doors, rolling paint across the surface in thick letters. A cheerful task maybe for people who did this kind of thing often. The numbers kept falling. 04301, 0043. Ray stepped back. We should get away from this door, she said. If they packed anything behind that wall, we do not need to be standing in front of it. Naomi nodded. They climbed back up one flight. The stairwell felt tighter now, the concrete closer. What do you think? Naomi asked. Real charge behind that, or just a clock and some plywood? Ray let her hand rest on the rail for a moment. Metal vibrated faintly with the building. They wired Lucas to blow, she said. Harder to believe the rest is empty theater. Fair, Naomi said. Although if they wanted a crater, they would have said it sooner. Timer is leverage, not a fuse, yet. Ray thought of the solstice text. Midnight. Come alone. They want me at the drive-in, she said. The timer is how they get me there. Naomi watched her. And if you do not go, Naomi asked. They let this run down, Ray said. 40 minutes from now, they prove they are not bluffing. Naomi rested her shoulders against the wall and looked up the stairwell. You sure they have that control from outside, guys? She said. They had to be in the building to rig Lucas, to paint that message. Could be they already packed the place with enough surprises that the timer is just an on switch. Ray pictured vents, service corridors, maintenance closets no one checked on night shift. The tracker in Naomi's hand was one voice in a chorus. Either way it goes, Ray said. They expect me to run to Solstice and leave this place open. They want me pulled thin. Naomi turned her head to look at her. They are not wrong about one thing, she said. You cannot protect two fronts alone. Ray let out a breath. You think I should stay, she said. I think you walked into a kill script once and survived it, Naomi said. This feels similar. Different stage, same writer. She lifted the tracker again. They mapped us before they walked in, said. They know the exits, the stairs, the vents. They know staffing levels. They know you enough to build a copy. They still do not know where that drive is. And I do not either, Ray said. Not yet. Naomi slid the tracker into her pocket. That is the only bit of luck we have, she said. They cannot pull the pin until they are sure they get what they came for. They just tried, Ray said. They lit Lucas inside your eye. Naomi nodded. That was a contingency, she said. Punishment. A warning. Maybe an attempt to take you out with him. But that plywood downstairs is a different move. That is the primary script. Ray rubbed the heel of her hand against her forehead, wiping away blood she had not realized had dried there. What are you thinking? She asked. I am thinking I have a building full of people who trusted me to keep them breathing, Naomi said. You have a past someone is willing to stack bodies on. We can each do one job well, not both. Ray slumped briefly against the wall, letting her head touch the cool concrete. Lucas said they want the ledger more than they want me, she said. Then you are the map, Naomi said, not the treasure. Ray's throat tightened. If that drive is still out there, Naomi said, it lives in your gaps. The hours between the blast and that tent, the months after, the moves you made when you were concussed and scared and being watched. Ray remembered motel rooms with cheap curtains, cash under mattresses, a duffel she had ditched outside Albuquerque when she thought she saw the same truck twice. It could be gone, she said. It could, Naomi said. Or you could have done something smarter than you remember. Ray gave her a look. That sounds like faith, she said. It sounds like I have seen you work under pressure, Naomi said. Even half aware you are not the type to leave a loaded gun on the table. They climbed the stairs back toward the brighter floors. In the main hall, the administrator was waiting with 2 more suits Ray did not know. The police officer from ICU spoke into his radio voice, low and tight. When he saw them, he stepped over. We have patrols outside, FMO said. Perimeter on the parking lot. We are clearing visitors out of the waiting rooms. I am not getting anything useful from the camera feeds yet. Naomi nodded. ICU is locked, she said. You do not send anyone in there without clearing with me or the charge nurse. If someone in scrubs you have never seen before insists they belong there, you stop them. The administrator frowned. We cannot start interrogating staff based on your bad feeling, he said. It is not a feeling, Naomi said. It is experience. You have people on your floor who are not in your HR files. The cop cut in. We will check badges, he said. Anyone without one goes downstairs. Anyone who gives me the wrong name joins them. It is a start, Naomi said. Ray's phone buzzed. She stepped away to check it. Unknown number. Nice move with the sprinklers. The second line appeared before she could answer. 40 minutes, Jordan. Solstice. You and the ledger, or they all pay for your memory problem. She locked the screen and slid the phone back into her pocket. Naomi watched her. She still wants you to dance, Naomi said. She has a timer on the wall, Ray said. She knows I hear every tick. Naomi glanced toward the ER doors as if looking through them toward the invisible drive-in. You have been reacting since you put him in that rig, she said. Maybe it is time you do what they are afraid you will do. Which is, Ray asked. Before asked. Act like a captain again, Naomi said. The word landed heavier than bomb or ledger or twin. Ray thought of the photo in her pocket. 12 people, 11 red crosses. A captain with no team was just a survivor with a rank. She looked at Naomi. You willing to take orders from a ghost, Ray said. Naomi's lips twitched. I am willing to work with someone who has seen the same fire I have, she said. Call it what you want. Ray nodded. Then we divide this, she said. You hold this building, you keep ICU alive, you find those other trackers if you can. If any of them start moving toward an exit, you lock it before they get there. And you, Naomi said. Ray's jaw tightened. I go where they want me, she said. On my terms as much as I can manage. You walk into Solstice alone, Naomi said. That is what they wrote on the invitation. That is what they wrote, Ray said. Invitations can be misread. The police officer had moved down the hall talking to security. The administrator spoke urgently into his cell phone, turning slightly away from them. Naomi lowered her voice. You cannot bring a squad, she said. Not with the way they have seated this place with triggers. A visible swarm near the drive-in might be exactly what they want. I know, Ray said. She could almost see the drive-in in her mind. The big blank screen, the cracked asphalt, the rusted speaker poles, the projection booth that had eaten some kid through its rotten floor. You do not go completely blind either, Naomi said. You call someone you trust. Ray thought of the short list. It was empty and yet not. Trust is what got these people killed, she said, tapping the photo through her pocket fabric. Trust in the wrong direction, Naomi said. Pick better this time. The words sat there. The generator hummed. The intercom stayed silent for now. Ray closed her hand around the photo, feeling the lines of the folds. I need a cartbiat, she said. Unmarked. Nothing that screams police or ambulance. I can authorize a hospital vehicle, the administrator said, overhearing his caution forgotten in the rush to be part of the solution. We have a transport sedan for outpatient runs. Keys, Ray said. He hesitated, then nodded to Naomi. If she signs it out, I will back it, he said. Naomi went to the main desk, scribbled a signature on a form, and came back with a keyring. A white tag read HMC Transport 2. She dropped it into Ray's palm. The metal was cool. Do not make me regret that, Naomi said. Ray curled her fingers around the keys. You have your hands full, she said. You will not have time. Naomi exhaled once slow. Ray, she said. Ray looked up. If you remember anything about that drive, Naomi said, anything at all, text it before you walk into whatever they built out there. Ray nodded. They walked together toward the ER doors. Beyond the glass, the night waited. The parking lot lights threw pale circles on the asphalt. The sky above Tucson was black and clear. At the doors, they stopped. Through the glass, Ray saw her reflection. Scrub-soaked hair-plastered smears of someone else's blood on her sleeves. Behind her reflection stood Naomi in the hospital corridor, a tunnel of amber light and worry. For a second, the reflection doubled. Another face slipped into place, same features, different eyes. Then it was gone, leaving only Ray's own. She slid the photo out of her pocket and unfolded it one more time. 11 red X, her younger self looking back at her. Naomi in the edge of the frame, Lucas grinning. Empty space where a marker had never touched. Ray folded the picture again and tucked it into the inner pocket of her scrub top close to her skin. Keep his room locked, she said. Keep your head down when you can and up when you cannot. Do the same, Naomi said. The door hummed as the sensor picked her up. It slid open on a breath of hot desert air. Ray stepped out into the night. The heat wrapped around her thick even at this hour. Far off on the edge of vision, the outline of the old Solstice drive-in screen rose above the flat rooftops, pale against the dark. Her phone vibrated once in her pocket. She did not look at it yet. She walked toward the transport lot, keys in hand, the sound of the generator fading behind her, replaced by the distant rush of the freeway and the soft buzz of insects around the lights. Thank you so much for listening to today's story. If this story resonated with you or made you reflect, I'd love to hear your thoughts. So feel free to share them in the comments below. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell so you won't miss the next story.